Hi, I'm Tony Kramer, your host of the Agriculture Technology Podcast, and I'm sitting down with agriculture technology and equipment experts to help you enhance your operation for today, tomorrow, and into the future. In this episode, we are going to recap the 2024 season of our podcast. With that, let's dive into the show. Like I said, we have finished another season of our podcast. We covered a ton of great information, had a lot of really fun guests on the show. And in this episode, we do it every year. We kind of recap what we talked about, some of the episodes we went through. So diving in, I just wanted to mention a couple episodes that really, drew some attention, whether it was new equipment or just the conversations that we had were unique. And to start out, the new John Deere tillage tools. So John Deere released the new Coulter Chisel, or the CC line of tillage tools. They also released the new MT, or the minimum tillage tool. So we talked about that. That was a great episode that kind of covered the ins and outs of what these tools are, where they're going to go. Go ahead, take a listen to that episode. Another one that we covered were, of course, the John Deere precision upgrade kits. So we talked about combines and sprayers, and talked about all the different upgrades that are available out there in order to take what you have today and or find a piece of used equipment on the market and upgrade it with the different kits that are available. So go ahead, go back and listen to the combine and sprayer performance upgrade kit episode. And one of the last we're calling these kind of honorable mention, not in the top 5 of our episodes, we talked about managing lawn and land utility fleet. So this was a really unique one that we did at the beginning of the season in 2024. We talked with a customer who does lawn care in the summer and snow removal in the winter. And we discussed how they are utilizing the John Deere Operations Center to manage their fleet, manage the logistics when they're out doing the jobs, moving around from location to location. So that was a really fun one. Go back to the beginning of the 2024 season and give that one a listen. So those were just a few we wanted to touch on real briefly, talking about some of the things that were unique, fun, interesting. Now I want to talk about we deem these our top 5 episodes, whether it be listenership, the number of listens we had, or views on YouTube. But these were kind of the 5 standout episodes of the 2024 podcast season. So starting out, we talked again, precision upgrade kits. This one specifically revolved around planters. So in this episode, I talked with Colin Arts, an account manager out of one of our South Dakota locations. And Colin and I discussed, just the basics of what is a precision upgrade kit for a planter. What does it look like? Who can it benefit? And how do we go about ordering one of those or making the decision to order one? So I encourage you, go back out, listen to episode 199 on precision upgrade kits for planters. Why would a customer go the route of precision upgrade kit versus buying or ordering a brand new planter, or maybe going on the hunt or having you hunt for a used machine? Where is the value to a customer when we talk precision upgrade kits for planters?
I'd say that probably the number one advantage of it is the cost. It's significantly a lot cheaper than ordering a whole new planter because, like I say, you're utilizing your equipment that you already have. The other side of it would be, we just got off of times of shortage of inventory and everything like that, and we were allocated only so many brand new complete units that customers had to look at different options to be able to keep up with times, keep up with technology, and have their farm grow as successful as possible.
This really opens the door to allow customers to get into that technology, that newer technology. Maybe they have that 2015 bar that they bought brand new in 2015. They've really enjoyed it. They're happy with it. They know what maintenance has been done to it. But here we are in 2024, moving into model year 2025 planter orders here shortly. It's a 10-year-old planter. They want newer technology, and this really opens that door to get them there. The next thing I want to talk about, Colin, is when you order a PUK, whatever level it may be, what do we get in that PUK kit? How does it come to the dealership from the factory?
So basically, you look at it as like a menu. You look at the menu as far as how you want the planter to be built. There's so many different variations and options of how these PUKs can be sent to us and installed on the planter. Basically, all said and done with, you're going to basically get everything from the bar back. There are some things that you could utilize from your old planter, such as like gauge wheels or closing wheels, assemblies, different things like that. But you're essentially going to get new parallel arms, new downforce, new shank, and then new meters, and then all electronic cabling.
So if this is a full-blown meter upgrade, we're not just getting a meter to slap on the iron that we already have. We're getting new iron with this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have to have new iron just because of the capability, the size, the fitting of all of the new meters and everything, plus the speeds that we could potentially be going. They're a lot more durable and stronger than what they have been in the past. That's why we're updating everything.
You are pretty much getting a brand new planter. You're not getting the hydraulic hoses, and you're not getting the bar, and I suppose the wheels, the transport wheels, the wing wheels, things like that is staying the same. But other than that, the components that really, really matter, it's all coming brand new when you order one of these, is what I'm understanding.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're basically getting a new planter bolted onto your bar. Probably the number one thing is basically you got to pick your speed you want to go, if you will. There's MaxEmerge 5E, which is an electronic drive, Pro Series, Pro Max 40, that's, if you will, kind of what you've been used to kind of meter, your standard speed. It's got a seed tube with the drop in it. So that's one selection. The other side would be going up to an ExactEmerge, where you're getting the precision, you're getting a brush belt, you're getting delivery of the seed right down to the seed trench and capabilities of up to 10 mile an hour. After that, you can pick and choose different things from there. Again, if you want to use your old gauge wheels, you can keep your old gauge wheels. If you want to update to new ones, you're like, hey, maybe I want to go with spoke gauge wheels. You can get spoke gauge wheels. If you like, that 10-year-old bar, your row cleaners on there are maybe not up to date, we can get a whole pneumatic adjustable row cleaner set up for the front of it bolted on. We can get closing wheel assemblies. We can get pneumatic closing wheels. Just a huge whole gamut of options that you can get.
Now, some of those options are, we need to have kind of that major upgrade prior to those little individual options. Is that right?
For sure.
Customer does that. They decide, okay, this is what I want to do. These are the components that I want. How is it coming to us, and how is this whole process kind of finishing up?
Now, you're basically coming in and ordering it just like you are a brand new planter. It's going to come with a serial number. Your planter is going to get a new serial number. That's going to reference all of the new components that you have on it. So they'll come to us delivered from the store. Usually they'll fully complete 2 row units on a pallet at a time, and then a few extra boxes with all the wiring harnesses and new controllers inside of that.
So that makes it very easy for the customer to be able to get what they need. We get it installed for them, or I guess they can install it if they so choose. But that's kind of the process, like you said, getting a new planter.
Yeah, you're ordering a new planter. It's essentially getting here. All the units show up. We get in contact with the customer. We tell them, hey, bring your old planter in. The customer has the option to take off, strip off as much of that bar that he wants to maybe potentially keep or get rid of, or we can do it all complete. And then we just start adding components back onto the planter, almost like an assembly line.
Next one up for the 2024 season of our podcast, number 4, came in with episode number 197. We had Zack Johnson on our show, so many of you know him as the Millennial Farmer, but this was Zack's second time on our show. We got to meet up with him down in Texas at the Commodity Classic for 2024. Now, this time, the first time we had Zack on our show, we just kind of talked about him and his YouTube channel and, why a farmer in central Minnesota would start that, west central Minnesota. And in this episode, or this time on episode 197, we talked about utilizing new technology on his farm. We were standing by a planter that was outfitted with technologies like Exact Shot, John Deere's new technology that doses the seed with in-furrow fertilizer. We also talked about some of the other technologies that Zack is utilizing on his farm. So go out, take a listen to episode 197 with Zack Johnson, the Millennial Farmer. What types of technologies are you utilizing? And most importantly, why? What does that mean to your farm, the technologies that are available?
I'm lucky in that my dad has always been very good at adopting new technology. He's also always been big on making sure that you can sort of understand the return on investment on that technology, and making sure that you can weed out the technology that is maybe something that looks like a really cool map, or can show you some data that you haven't seen before, but does it translate into a return on that investment, right? I've seen a lot of technology out there that has come and gone that just didn't provide that return on investment. And I think that that's why it left us, right? Because farmers will see that it's a obviously a business. So you need to make good decisions for your farm. And farming has obviously gotten so much more efficient as we've gone now with the amount of people that we're able to provide for, with 1.5% of us ultimately that are farmers. We just keep getting more and more efficient and better at what we do. We have really hit the point where technology is taken off like crazy, like it is in every other industry. And I've talked to a lot of people about some of the technology that goes into these things. I mean, we're standing next to a planter right now that has the Exact Shot fertilizer on it. That's only going to lay that fertilizer right where it needs to be around that seed. And it's going to save you, 60%, I think, on your fertilizer, 2/3 of your fertilizer.
Yeah, up to 60% of input savings on fertilizer. Yep.
Yeah, so we got stuff like this with that Exact Shot fertilizer. We have got sprayers now that identify the weeds and only spray the weeds, and are also capable of putting down a residual chemical at the same time if you want to do that. I mean, we are, soil sampling in as small of increments as you want. And for us, it's all about making sure that the technology we use actually provides a return. And some of the things I've mentioned are those things. So we'll be trying this Exact Shot in the spring, which is new to us. We actually haven't had liquid fertilizer on a planter for quite some time, but I think just having the ability to place it correctly is going to be huge for us. Certainly it sold me on it, at least into trying it. So I really am hopeful. I really think that there's a lot here with the Exact Shot. Same thing with the sprayers. Right now, our sprayer is not hooked up with the See and Spray for certain operations that are growing certain crops and trying to do certain things. I mean, that'd be huge, right? The chemical savings on that is incredible. In the right situation, some of this technology is just unbelievable, and it just kind of continues to unfold. Farmers figure out what's worth it and what's not. So as we go, we're really learning a lot about what provides the return for us.
Next up on our list for 2024 is number 3, and that is episode 198. So like we were talking, talked to Zack Johnson down at the Commodity Classic. Well, many of you know, at the Commodity Classic in 2024, John Deere had a very large product launch. They launched new air seeder air carts. They launched new design, new styling, and new components to the S7 series combines. We got a lot of different things that came out in the 2024 or John Deere's 2025 model year product launch. One of the ones that I want to talk about specifically is those new high horsepower 9RX tractors coming in at 710, 770, and 830 horse with that new JD18 engine. Big tracks, big power, get the power to the ground where you want it. Now, I encourage you not only to go back and listen to episode number 198 on the podcast, but also go out to RDO Equipment Company's YouTube channel. We had a great walk around at our field days this summer, talking all about the new 9RX high horsepower offerings from John Deere. Let's dive into it. John Deere here at the Commodity Classic launched 3 brand new high horsepower, new design, everything from the ground up 9RX tractors. The biggest one, we're standing here, the 830. They've got a couple other models. Talk to us a little bit about what those models are and tell us a little bit about the engine. I know there's some fun things that we can learn about that.
Like you mentioned, 3 new models. So on the smaller end would be the new 9RX 710, then the 9RX 770, and then the one we're standing next to would be the 9RX 830. So those numbers represent the rated horsepower for each of those models. And then on the very top end with the 830, the peak horsepower for that would actually be 913. So again, kind of a major jump in horsepower from our previous machines. Like you alluded to, the engine in all 3 of these machines is the new JD18 engine from John Deere. So a lot of great benefits from this. One of the biggest ones being obviously the new high horsepower capabilities, but also about how it does this with emissions. So with emissions on this, it's able to meet final tier 4 emissions using only exhaust gas recirculation. So more commonly EGR. So no diesel particulate filters and no diesel exhaust fluid, or commonly referred to as DEF. So customers are really excited about the opportunity to get something this powerful without maybe some of the hassle or added morning startup with having to fill a DEF tank as well.
Those added fluid costs or whatever you want to refer to it as, the diesel exhaust fluid, having to put that in the tractor, huge benefit for the customer of not having to do this with this new JD18. Now, another thing that is massive on this tractor is this track system that we are standing next to right now. Tell us a little bit about how this differs from the traditional 9RX.
The main thing you kind of hit on, it's bigger. It's a longer track. It's a taller track. And that's really to help deliver that 830 horsepower to the ground. Starting here with like the newer drive wheel, that allows us to do is the angles changed. So we're actually getting more track wrap around this drive wheel, which gets more engagement with the lug. So really just helps transfer that power better through the machine. As we kind of go down towards the bottom, we've added an idler on the bottom, and that's really to help spread out some of the weight to keep a more consistent footprint to what we have with our traditional 9RXs, because this machine is a little bit heavier. Total ballast, it can be up to 84,000 pounds. So again, with that 84,000 pounds and 830 horsepower, it takes a pretty aggressive and new design track to get all that power to the ground.
Coming in at number 2 on our list of episodes for 2024, we go back to episode number 196. And in that episode, it was kind of a pre-season preparation. So beginning of 2024, we talked about everything that can be done within the John Deere Operations Center prior to a planting season or just a growing season in general. Talked about things to, be prepared with, getting all of your information in there, making sure your information is in there, but then also utilizing historical data to make educated decisions for what we're going to do this year. The big thing to remember, the John Deere Operations Center, it's a business system. It is a tool that you can utilize on your farm to make day-to-day decisions, make year-over-year decisions, and use that as a tool to better your operation. So go out, take a listen to episode 196, talking preseason do's within the John Deere Operations Center. What is the value of the John Deere Operations Center to a small grains customer?
Yeah, and Tony, I think there's some unique things, and there's so many places in the world today to back up even a level higher on ag data, farm data, logistics management. There's a lot of fantastic tools, and the evolution of what you can do on the farm has grown so much, especially in the last 5 years. So when I think about the core value of the Operations Center, it really comes into, we can document your agronomic inputs on the farm. So we start calling it like the digital twin or the digital replica of the farm. So you think about on the agronomic side of that, that's having your fields, all the fields that you farm, you can get your products loaded in. So your seeds, your chemical, your fertilizer loaded in, and your John Deere equipment. And the equipment is kind of where the John Deere Operations Center starts to differentiate from other platforms that are in the market, because now we're not solely looking at the agronomics, we're also looking at your equipment. We're working with John Deere, we know that there's a significant investment that customers put into their equipment. So monitoring how the job is progressing, monitoring how well that investment in your equipment is returning for the grower is a really unique portion of the Operations Center. So that's I think when I think of the Operations Center in general, is that equipment monitoring and that equipment viewpoints, not just where is it at and how many hours, but how well of a job is it doing in the field? That's where it starts to pull away from just being an agronomic tool only.
Yep. And I couldn't agree more. And I've actually said that, whether it be in conversation with people or maybe even past episodes, I truly view the John Deere Operations Center as a business system for farmers. I mean, we've got, if you have run your own private business, maybe you do QuickBooks for all your financial stuff, or we as a John Deere dealer, we have a CRM system, a customer software that allows us to sell parts, to know and understand what's going on from a service aspect. The John Deere Operations Center is just that from an agronomic perspective. With you talk about the machines, the agronomic data, all of it together, and there was definitely a shift. And with the introduction of the John Deere Operations Center, John Deere brought in all of the equipment. Prior to that, we had Apex, which was solely agronomic data. So it's really, like you said in the start of your comments there, it's so much bigger. It's not just the agronomic data. It is so total farm, total operation, everything there. So the John Deere Operations Center is a tool that should be on every farm for that very reason. And rounding out our list at number 1 for what we kind of deemed our top 5 episodes for this season, we hit episode number 200 this year. So middle of the summer, we hit episode 200. We put that one at the top of our list because any of you podcasters, YouTubers, whatever you are doing out there, 200 episodes is a huge accomplishment. I want to take the time to say thank you to all of our listeners, everybody out there that has subscribed to the show, shared our show with family, friends, coworkers, anybody else in the ag industry or outside of the ag industry at that point. But I just want to thank you guys. If it wasn't for you listeners, those of you watching on YouTube, we wouldn't be doing this all the way through episode 200. So I'm very excited to continue on with this. But with that, at episode 200, I got the opportunity to sit down with the founder of RDO Equipment Company, Mr. Ron Offutt himself. This was a great conversation that I got to have with Ron about getting the business started, where he kind of came from with his dad and farming, and how this all transpired. One of the things that really hit home in that episode was Ron Offutt talks about having passion in whatever it is you do. Now, of course, we're in the ag industry, in the equipment business. Ron has a very strong passion for agriculture, but even outside of agriculture, Ron kind of hits the nail on the head with talking about having passion is really what's going to propel you in your career and your professional life. So that was a great episode. Huge accomplishment to hit episode 200. We couldn't be happier about what this podcast has done, where it's gone, and where we're going to take it into the future here. So go out, listen to episode 200 with RDO Equipment Company founder Ron Offutt. What advice do you have to these young kids that maybe they're not sure, maybe they don't know anything about the agriculture industry? What can you share with them that would encourage them to either continue into the agriculture industry or even take a look at the agriculture industry? What could help them brighten their future?
Kind of got a philosophical thought. When you're young, you got to have 2 or 3 different jobs maybe to make sure that's not something you want to do permanently. If they're thinking about it, give it a try someplace. Either working for a company or being a farmer, which is a difficult deal to get started, but give it a try. If you can create the passion within yourself that you really love what you do, man, work just becomes a joy. If you hate it, work is a big pain in the butt. You got to follow your passion and your desires.
I can attest to that theory, that mindset. I have found that passion in the ag industry here at RDO Equipment. Great organization that you have built, founded back in 1968 and built it to where we are today. Kudos to you and everything you've done in your career and everything you've built. And that rounds out our list for episodes of the 2024 podcast season. Again, we want to thank each and every one of you for listening. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already. You can subscribe to the show on the many different podcasting apps that we're streaming this out to, such as Apple, Google, Spotify, as well as many others. While you're out there, drop us a review. We'd love to hear what you think about the show. Lastly, make sure to follow RDO Equipment Company on Facebook, Instagram, and X, and also catch our latest videos on YouTube. You can also follow me on X at RDO Tony K.